Okay.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's it's so much going on in the world. El Primo had to pop on and say something. It's a it's a lot of confusion. I'll say that a lot of confusion about what's going on.
Too much confusion. That's why we on here, and we're gonna try to bring some clarity to it, to where you good people can have some source of being able to figure out exactly what's happening and how to track it.
Well, Trump has been busy since he's been in office. I know it's a new executive order signed every couple of minutes,
That it is. That it is.
and a lot of people scared, and nervous, and all that. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see the opportunity
Well,
because, as we've always discussed, out of chaos, there's opportunity.
yeah, that's how order comes out of chaos.
Exactly.
Um, the thing that we're trying to discuss is this whole fear over this DEI non-hires and the Justice Department shutting down the Civil Rights Division, far as what Biden set up under Gorsuch. And just to bring some clarity to it, to help people understand what's happening and what the transition is being made, because America, as we once understood it, is not the same no more. And
No.
neither will it be the same moving forward.
Yeah, we're headed, as we've discussed, towards a less invasive government.
And I mean, I couldn't have chose a better description, a less invasive. Uh, People are upset by what appears to be the shutdown of these policies that we felt that always helped, let's say, black people, and not understanding that even with affirmative action, that affirmative action, we were not at the top,
For
meaning
sure.
black
For
people,
sure.
of the ones that were helped by that policy. And that's the same case with the example of your DEI. We were not at the top of the individuals being helped by that policy. I think what's important for us to understand is that the whole Civil Rights Act of, I believe it was 1964, if I'm correct, was not for us. That whole act of 1964 was for the sole purpose of introducing the term minority and people of color into
Hmm.
law, basically. And that basically expanded it. And we look at the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and notice I keep saying of 1964 because the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was not for us, as in black African American people. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, and I'm reiterating, was meant to add minority and people of color. So it could expand it outside of us.
Hmm.
I would encourage everybody to look up and Google the first Civil Rights Act. You will find out that the first Civil Rights Act was in 1866 or 1868. That was the very first Civil Rights Act. The very first Civil Rights Act was not of 1964. And that's the misconception that we have. And that's going to be the basis of the conversation that we're having right now, to help people understand what's really going on and what's really, as my co-host would say, afoot.
Yeah, like I always tell people, whenever someone's bringing you fear, something to be afraid of, or something to be anxious about, specifically because it's something to be fearful or anxious about, there's a motive behind it. So always look deeper.
There's always a motive behind it. And I'm trying to find this one thing to try to add up on the screen that I'm having a problem with right now. But because I know some people are not going to look these things up. But Trump actually spoke to, in one of his interviews, spoke to the birthright citizenship and the reason why he wants to eliminate the birthright citizenship,
Hmm.
saying that it's not protected under the 14th Amendment. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, that's what's considered the Civil Rights Act. That's the first civil rights bill. And that's the only bill or laws that state people are descendants of slaves. And it actually says in their African descent. Those 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments were specifically made for us as a response to the Dred Scott decision of 1857. My cousin goes on to explain in another interview he did, and this is Dr. Claude Anderson, of how between the conception of the United States of America, and understand, at the conception of the United States of America, that was the beginning of America as a nation state. That's an important distinction, nation state. And I
Facts.
I would implore you to go look at when did Italy become a nation state. You'll find out that it happened in the 1800s. America was a nation state before Italy was a nation state. You'll go and you'll find out a lot of these European countries were not nation states before we were a nation state. Okay, it also must be understood that at the time of the Declaration of Independence, that the United States of America at that point did not did not include the 50 states of what it is today. In the time that the United States declared independence from Britain, me and my brother right here, we're in Detroit, in Michigan. That was still the property of the French, Michigan. It was not part of the states. It actually belonged to another European country or European monarch at that point. So that is an important distinction. So in the Dred Scott decision, it discusses jurisdiction. And it states in the thing with jurisdiction that there's a such thing as a citizen of a state that's not necessarily a citizen of the United States.
Hmm.
So in Dred Scott decision, which was a messed up decision, but going according to law, it spoke on jurisdiction. We were not at that point in the jurisdiction of the United States of America. We were in the jurisdiction of the independent states because our union was not even perfected yet because all states were still not recognized. I think it was only 13 former colonies that were
Hmm.
brought into the actual concept of the United States. And then after the Civil War, it added 7 more. So the first civil rights bill was made for us. If you go back, and you can Google this, you can go back and Google Mayor Neil Gorsuch's speech when he was first nominated as the AG of the United States, and a speech he gave when he opened the Civil Rights Division. He states that most people don't understand or know why the DOJ was created. The DOJ was created by executive order from the president for one sole purpose. That one sole purpose was to protect the new Civil Rights Act for African American or descendants of slaves and protect us from the Ku Klux Klan. We understand the DOJ with all these other things, tracking drugs and this, that, they were not created for that. It was
Yeah,
created for one sole purpose, to protect us and ensure our civil rights of the initial Civil Rights Act. Trump goes on to speak on how he plans to eliminate taxes. Trump speaking about eliminating taxes, but he also spoke about how the country was the richest between 1870 to 1913. Why did it stop at 1913? It stopped at 1913 because you had the introduction of the Federal Reserve. The introduction of the Federal Reserve took monetary policy basically from the executive branch of presidency and as well as the Senate. And then they passed the 16th Amendment, which allowed them to begin to tax regular Americans. What Trump is doing by eliminating DEI, eliminating the civil rights and all other things that's went on the side of the DOJ, he's turning back time.
exactly.
He's eliminating the Civil Rights Act of 1964 because the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it extended the language of the original Civil Rights Act of 1866
Yeah,
that
it's been
only talked
co-opted.
exactly that only talked about the descendants of slave and black people, and it added, as I stated in the beginning, the terms minority and people of color. And then you have the Indians that were also starting to be arrested in this deportation process, and the DOJ as well as the ICE were telling the Indians that they did not acknowledge their paperwork, saying that they had certain amount of blood to make them distinguish them as Indians. And then you look back and you see that their citizenship was in question. Why? Because of the same thing with Dred Scott decision, saying that a citizen of a state is separate from a citizen of the United States. Those are two separate jurisdictions. So my whole point in what I'm stating, with the addition of what black people thought that we were marching for and doing all these extra things for in 1964, was not to our benefit. It ended up being to the benefit of other people that would be classified as minority and
Mm-hmm.
people of color after that act was passed. That's why we were not the bigger beneficiaries of the Civil Rights Act, the affirmative action, and these DEI hires, and so on and so forth, because we're confused by the language. We don't look up the legal definition of people of color. That don't mean black. We don't look up the definition or the legal definition of minority. And then we will find out that that's not talking about black.
Exactly.
And as of the Federal Reserve of 1913, the Civil Rights Act did nothing but made it legal for the Federal Reserve to expand its tax base. The Federal
Facts.
Reserve exists to control monetary policy, but also unlimited ability to tax. And that put in place the IRS. The IRS was created under Lincoln in 1862. But Lincoln created that, and it was only for the sole purpose of creating extra money for the Civil War. But it was already deemed unconstitutional. Okay, but people don't know what else happened in 1864. In 1864, Lincoln paid off all the plantation owners, all of them. That's what caused the 13th Amendment to be created, because it freed all the slaves. The slaves were not paid because you can't pay property under description of law. Okay,
Facts.
so when that happened, You get your 13th Amendment. But what we didn't know is that the Crown of England paid off all the slave owners in 1833. So that meant to all its territories, even in the West Indies, excuse me, and things of that sort, all those plantation owners were paid off. And that freed the British slaves. But the United States had already broke loose from England in 17, what, 60, 64, 65.
Mm-hmm.
And we established as a nation state, that's important, in 1789. So when Lincoln paid off the plantation owners, that's what established the first, understand, I can't preface this and emphasize this enough, the first Civil Rights Bill of 1866, or it might be 1868. That was the first one. So when we were marching with Martin Luther King and all that, and I believe that's why Martin Luther King came out and said that he believed that he, according to Harry Belafonte, that he led his people into a burning house, because I don't think he knew that our rights were already protected under the initial, very first Civil Rights Act.
Mm-hmm.
What we did was we marched, got busted in the head, sprayed with water, and all this other stuff to include other people that were not included in it and ostracize ourselves in the process. So,
Facts.
what am I stating? Trump is trying to turn back the understanding of what's going on back to the original Civil Rights Act of 1866. And in order to do that, when you go into court, you can't go into court still acknowledging the act of 1964. You have to start to abolish all of that, because you're stating in your argument that you're going to present to the court is that you have the authority under the initial Civil Rights Act of 1866, and that the acts of 1864 was null and void, and you're moving under the authority of over 100 years ago. Because all of the authority, and you can Google this, and AI will explain to you. And AI will tell you that United States pretty much ceased to be a republic at the creation of the Federal Reserve of 1913. Because the Federal Reserve purpose was only to lend money to government, and for that, the government gave over all monetary policy to the Federal Reserve. So all the taxes that we pay right now is based on the Federal Reserve Act. And then the passing of the 16th Amendment, they gave Congress the power at that point to tax indiscriminately, not even depend on based on population and all that. And understand, as of that point and even before, the Supreme Court has always defined taxable income as income from businesses, not from individuals. So I know it's rather a long diatribe, but what we're seeing is that whole process. But we also heard Trump, because you keep hearing him talk about the date of 1870 and 1913. That's the significance of those dates. Okay, now the next thing, you see what Elon Musk is doing, and he's going up into the Department of Treasury. Okay, who we got here that made a comment? What's that name that Tion? J Sosa. Shout out to you, my brother. Appreciate you for your comment. Anybody else got a comment, man? Give us a shout out. Let us know what you're thinking. If you got any questions, or if you disagree, say
Yeah, if you got
something.
any questions, anything, just pop out there. Let's see.
Okay, that's a job from yesterday. What's up, my brother? I see you still over there cooking. Let's see what you had to say. What's that, Tion?
Okay, so heavy in actual facts once again. This is why I'm standing on nationality and status as Moors. my bros from Murakash Society.
For
Oh, shout
sure,
out
for
to
sure.
you.
Shout out to you. Shout
Yeah,
out to
shout out
you.
to all the Morris brothers. Like, yeah, they
And,
solid people, got some serious knowledge on them. Some
and
serious
see,
knowledge on them.
that's the thing right there. The brother John know exactly what's popping because he understands jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is most important with all of these subjects. Jurisdiction. That's why they telling the Indian now that you don't have no birthright protection.
Exactly. Like
Because
they
go ahead.
and the fact that people are missing that is mind boggling. Like it's all right in front of your eyes. That literally proves that there are different jurisdictions in which people exist under.
Exactly. And the only thing he's doing, he's rolling that back. Elon Musk going up in the treasury, doing the things that he's doing and all that because he's exposing the system. Trump exists for one reason. Trump is here to tear down the system of 1913. All of your contract agreements, a lot of your laws that has been passed. I forgot where years that it was Erie Railroad versus Tompkins. I believe it's the same spelling as my last name. And in that decision, the Supreme Court came back and stated that as of this date, they were going to destroy over 100 years of precedents. As of this date, the Supreme Court stated all crimes will be acknowledged as crimes of commerce. Everything became commerce at that point. What's that? Who we got here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, appreciate you, ATM. It's love, baby. Appreciate you. So this is what's going on. This is what we got to understand. So Elon Musk is in there doing what Elon Musk is doing because we're getting ready to go through a reset. Trump wants this question to be presented before the Supreme Court because this way he can force another amendment to abolish what has been going on and clarify for once and for all that
Yeah.
the tax system was not meant for us.
Yeah. And like the way the Supreme Court is stacked right now, you have individuals who are very specific at adherence to the letter of the law.
The letter of the law, reading the law and interpreting it as it was originally meant. And that's important. But this is what we got to understand as well. Over, and I'm gonna do another video on this. I'm gonna put other videos up and things of that. But this is an off cuff discussion that me and Deep Thought wanted to have. What also must be understood, what Elon Musk is doing, he's cutting or finding ways to cut all this excess spending. What do I mean? I think I may be off with my numbers a little bit, but I think last year our overall debt was 6.8 trillion. I may be off a little bit, but just dig the point. And I think the United States collected maybe three or a little over 3 trillion in taxes. Okay, now here to play. Here to play. What's going down is that if you find a way to cut all the excess spending, you can eliminate taxes. How do you eliminate taxes? You eliminate taxes, cutting down the extra spending, the unnecessary spending. You can possibly try to lower it inside of that taxable income that they got from us. Okay, now if you can do that, then you can eliminate taxes. How can you eliminate taxes? You eliminate taxes because taxes didn't originally exist. Okay, what happens? Inflation is a good thing in terms of trying to pay down debt. If you eliminate extra spending, inflation will still increase on us, but we'll then get, instead of let's say 100,000 a year that we make, and we only get 60,000 of that, they'll give the other 40,000 back to us. And what will we do? We will continue to spend. When you're dealing with banks and banks loaning you money, only thing they're doing, they're loaning money into existence that wasn't already there. Your signature and you agreeing to those terms is what creates that money for the future. So by continuing to increase more money, and you can put that debt inside of what the initial taxable income was and eliminating that other 2 trillion, you can start to pay down your debt that way. Because basically what's been going on is that we were injected in the system. Who we got here? Okay, Shout out to you, Sosa again. What's up, baby? Appreciate you. Thanks for the compliment. You know, the way to basically switch the game up. Initially, we were being taxed. America is like one, I think, only two countries that you basically under feudalistic ruling of your early 12 and 1300s. What do I mean by that? Our government taxes us and tell us you don't have no other option. All the other countries in the world, you volunteer to participate by being inside of that system, working inside of it. But once you move out, you're not, whatever you make outside,
Yeah.
you're not liable for taxes.
America taxes your citizenship. If you are a citizen, it
That's
don't matter where you at in the world.
that's
That
extortion.
money you making, you better kick a cut in. And even to leave the country, you got to pay an exit tax.
That's extortion. That you got to pay me regardless. It don't even matter. You have to pay me, and if you don't, I'm gonna send my guys with guns and all that to come and
Right,
commandeer
forcefully
you
incarcerate you.
or anything. That only happened in one other country. So these are the things that's beginning to be changed. Why? Because America is no longer the America that we grew up in. I've told people before, the American or the Western monetary system switches every 100 to 150 years. The very first part of the Euro or Western world government economic system was the mercantile system. Then it went from the mercantile system to industrial capitalism. And then it went to capitalism. And like I said, based on history, each system lasts 100 to 150 years. When was the Federal Reserve established? 1913. We're a little bit past the 100-year mark. That fits between that window of 100 to 150 years. The economic system is about to change. And it's no coincidence that you've seen at Trump's inauguration, all that Zuckerberg, Elon, Bezos, and the other what we call technocrat that deals
Chill.
with technology and all,
Yeah.
because that's the future. What did Elon start out with? He started out with the PayPal guys. It's been no secret that PayPal has always wanted to be a bank. And what's that? The equity fund thing you said he passed
Yeah,
the other day?
sovereign wealth fund.
You know what I'm saying? Who was this? This Ja. Uh, okay, yeah, it's about to blow it up, and that's what we just spoke to. Speaking about Elon and them cats there, because that's all
Yeah.
technology, and they want to get into banking. And guess what? You get into crypto and things of that sort. It's doing nothing but moving banking into from a former reality into virtual reality. Life is moving, as me and Deep Thought did a video. You can look through our thing when we talked about what was the name of that video? From life moving from reality into the alternate reality. We was talking
Uh,
about what's that guy, Varoufakis.
oh yeah, Giannis Varoufakis.
We
Yeah,
did
the
a
former
video.
finance minister of Greece when they got robbed.
Yeah, we did a whole video on that, talking about the whole process and how reality was moving from reality into the cloud. And he called instead of landlords, which come from that feudalistic system, he started calling them cloud lords. And we started talking about how your churches, they're going online now. But the only thing with that is with the churches, it's the same thing. Let's describe it in the alternate reality. You go to a church and certain church, you're a subscriber on the net. You know what I'm saying? You go to a concert of whatever your favorite artist is. You're nothing but a subscriber. Reality is moving online. That's what's happening. That's where the whole world is going to exist. Damn near everybody now, excuse me, is getting into what we're doing right now, streaming into different stuff,
Yeah.
because you can earn now. You can become wealthy from that. So my bad, deep thought.
Oh
Gotta
no,
take my
no,
little water.
no. It's just and like when people hear us discuss this type of thing, they'll think like, "Oh, this is some conspiracy type stuff." Like, but if you want facts of it, you can look up societal trends in Japan. Now, Japan runs 15 to 25 years ahead of Western society as far as trends go. So, like the tech, they're that far advanced because their society is that far advanced. So the trends that they experience, we experience now. So they had a wave of young males who wanted to stay inside, play video games all day, and have no interaction with the outside. It became a epidemic in their country to a point where it's affected their population, and they've passed the death spiral.
So,
So we're experiencing that same thing, but 15 to 20 years behind them.
and that's more facts. But I'm just going strictly on the initial Civil Rights Act of 1866. We need to educate ourselves. 1864 was not for you. 1864 was packaged as if it was for you to get it passed. And once it got passed, it then eliminated you and myself and deep thought out of everything that we had coming. And it reintroduced and brought it back in people that had nothing to do with the original Civil Rights Act. And that's what we got to understand. They are now, Trump, moving to destroy all the legislation, all the laws, and all that was passed based on the Federal Reserve and set back that time. But understand, when they move back to that 1866 original Civil Rights Bill, and I've said this a long time ago, reparations is coming. Reparations is coming. But this is where you might get a little tripped up at. When it say descendants of slaves, you're already starting to see it. You're going to see more of it. You had Irish descendants of slaves. You had Anglo and Saxon descendants of slaves. Understand, what is Anglo? Anglo is what England was originally called. It was called Angleland. I forgot the emperor of Rome that enslaved all of the Angles. So only thing they did was take the A or put an E in front of the A and turn it to England. But it's the land of the Angles. Okay? They were also slaves. So I don't think when reparations come, it's just going to come from for us. Even though they have received some form of reparation because of the land grants and all that you guys that's on here, that's comment. I know all you guys know about this, that they didn't already receive. But what we failing to realize is this: every time they try to give us something, what happens? You have one of these other people of color protected under the new Civil Rights Bill, the second Civil Rights Bill of 1864, that steps in and say, that discriminates against me as a person of color or minority. That can also be a white woman that's also classified as a minority. And that stops anything that they're trying to do for us. So once a 1964 Civil Rights Bill is struck down, and all the other policies that are monetary policies that were passed since the Federal Reserve has been in existence, once that stuff is struck down, you're back to the original Civil Rights Bill of 1866 that only mentions us. It don't mention these Indians that are here, that some argue with good point that those Indians may have been brought here. You know, I would say as well. But if we go back to the old days of Custard and all that, it seemed like all the pictures of Indians, them jokers was dark. So, but I ain't gonna get into that. I'm getting into the weeds there. But I mean, that's my point. So I mean, for the brothers that's on here that's checking us out, man, we appreciate it. we're gonna go on, get ready to get out your way. If Deep Thought ain't had nothing to say, because he just hit me up on this and was like, "Yo, man, let's speak on this," and that's what we speaking to. Just real quick, man. We're gonna do something that's more structured later. You know what I'm saying, to show other thoughts and other evidence in the process. But until then, man, that's about it, man. My channel is down low, right there. Subscribe. You know, a number of you guys, I'm already seeing that you rocking with us and you pop up and come chop it with us when we do come on, man, and we appreciate that. Like I say, if one of you guys want to come up, say a little something, or you want to share some information, listen, we don't mind. We don't mind at all. You know what I'm saying? I see my man Sosa. What we got there, Deep Thought?
Oh yeah. Sosa say you want to see more videos like this. We got you. We
Oh
definitely
yeah,
got more videos like this coming.
yeah. As more come, we're gonna drop more, man, and we appreciate you, Sosa. And for everybody else, man, that's out there listening, and the ones that's about to be listening, subscribe, man. Fuck with us, because at the end of the day, we trying to fuck with you. All right, baby. Deuces.